The third and final race of the weekend at Hidden Valley, and with the grid for this one, it's an aggregate result from the first two races. So Grant Johnson and Kim Jane, who've both seen a checkered flag first this weekend, will square off from the front row. And Kim Jane's confidence, he'll be riding high after a great drive in race 2, and Jack Elsgood and Andrew Fisher, the only Ford drivers in the top 10. Steve Hodges from 15th picked up a 32nd time penalty from the last race for that contact with Craig Dondas for a dangerous re-entry onto the racetrack. Greg Willis starts from 25th, and he also picked up a 32nd penalty. That was for that contact with Warren Millett at turn 1. Are you telling me 10.5 years in, the officials are actually jumping on these guys? There's officials penalties left, right and centre. Well, someone's got to start giving them out, but it doesn't seem to curb the enthusiasm. It never will either. As I said, 10 years in, it has never changed. And what hasn't changed this weekend has been the dominance of the Commodores. Johnson and Jane, front row. Elsgood and Pither, second row. McDonald and Fisher are on row 3. And then Harris and Scott Jennings, who has had a really good weekend. This is the decider. Race 3 of the weekend in round 3. And it's all about getting the jump. And it's pretty even between the front row. You could not get any more even into turn 1. But now on board with Chris Pither, who's got a great view, but Jack Elsgood. Johnson's got the inside. Pither locks it up. 32 Utes go into first turn. How many come out? Oh, it's Kim Jane really sideways. And he's lost ground. Cold tyres, had a little bit of trouble getting the power down. Now Andrew Fisher. Oh, that was always going to happen. Chris Pither in the door. But that's really good racing. They both gave each other room. It's always going to be tight through there side by side. Off into the dirt now, his teammate in the second. Oh, man, I don't actually know what to call. There's so much happening. DBA in car with Fisher. That is McDonald and Harris. So Johnson's the leader. Elsgood is up to second. Oh, big problem here. Ryle Harris. Some smoke from that damaged Commodore, and that damage is actually from race 2. And it looks as though he's not shy on adding to that. I mean, he's figuring, when I get back to the workshop to have to replace the front left, might as well tear it up a bit more. Everyone sorting themselves out on this first lap. G. Cedars in the Newlon Ford, the white one right there, really loose as he wriggled it down the S's to the final turn. Craig Dondas with Paul Williams behind them. The lurid yellow Falcon of Ben Dunn, the Storage King car. Welcome aboard with Andrew Fisher. Oh, there's a gear there somewhere, and it took a while to find it. That was a sloppy gear change, and not something you can afford to do this early in the race. And limping down the front straight, there is a problem there. Ryle Harris, the white Commodore, has got huge problems. Back up front, though, Grant Johnson. This guy is just in awesome form. Has picked up the support this weekend of Regal Transport. Jack Elsgood there just a little bit. Whoa, there's been a rollover. Well, I don't know, he's just up on 2 wheels. The bonnet's flapping around. Not sure if he's gone right over, but geez, that looked frightening when the camera switched over. Geez, Aaron, hope he's all right. That's Peter Burnett, who has come to grief down at turn 1. Johnson's clearing away. The fight for second is really on, and yeah, that's definitely been over. Have a look at the damage to the roof. Here we go. What happens on the Okama replay? Just tags the back of Jason Gomersall and tags, oh, and the wheels interlock. Pretty gentle sort of a rollover for a rollover, but that'd actually be a shock if you're in that car. Not something you'd ever expect. Okay, he spun the guy around. Gomersall's let the car roll back, and as you said, he's just climbed over the exposed front wheel of that blue Falcon, and that, boom, that first bounce, shake him around. I mean, I think he'd be all right, but... This is in car with Burnett. Oh! Geez, that's first-hand, frightening experience. He's okay. Look, adjust the mirror just to check that everything's okay. That's how shaken the guy is. I mean, to think your first reaction is to go to the mirror and adjust it. Well, he's getting out of the car with it unassisted, so he's okay, but that could have been a lot worse. That brings out the safety car in race 3. We'll have a chance to clean things up. Oh, Steve Hodges has got some problems too. We're back on the road. Race 3 has been restarted at Hidden Valley in Darwin. Pacemaker in car is with Jack Elsgood, and he's not really worrying about chasing down Grant Johnson because he's more worried about holding out Kim Jane.
He said earlier in the show that he wasn't really keen to just accumulate points, but currently has just not got the pace of Grant Johnson, and holding on to second will do his championship hopes a whole lot of good.
Now, you're a two-time champion in the Ute category. Where's Grant Johnson finding this speed?
I think most of it's come from confidence, not just the driver, but the whole team. When everything clicks and you're on a high, it's a confidence game. And at the moment, I think, particularly on the back of Winton and their good result, they're just running the wave of confidence.
And Johnson is away. There he goes down the straight. Reece McNally off the road, the Rookie of the Year contender. He's going to cost himself some spots.
It's a great shame too, because this weekend David Cedars hasn't had the best of weekends, and he is leading the Rookie of the Year standings. It was an opportunity for McNally to capitalise.
This is what was going on. Yokohama replay gets in the back of George Elliott. You reckon there's some payback coming?
Oh, George Elliott, guaranteed there's a payback coming.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? I don't think the officials will worry about that one. Tit for tat.
Back with Charlie Kovacs, the Wilson Security Commodore, has got them all lined up. How about Jeremy Gray, the Rockstar Falcon? That wasn't terribly Rockstar, that was a stage dive.
Mate, he'll be shaking in his teeth now because both front tyres will be flat spotted. Same now for Paul Williams. Again, late in the race, the heat here at Hidden Valley really is torturous on these Yokohama tyres. But at the moment, Gray's hanging on.
Ben Dunn, Storage King Falcon, under fire from Gary Baxter. We haven't seen much of Baxter this weekend. The Sage Automotion Commodore has had a really bad weekend.
Sometimes it's your weekend, sometimes it's not for Gary Baxter this weekend. He has had a crocker by his standards.
And he actually broke the steering rack in race one, some contact with David Cedars. So you have drama early in the weekend. It's so hard to recover.
Very, very hard to recover, unless, of course, with the new format for race 2, where they reverse, well, an unknown number of cars. But for Gary Baxter this weekend, that made no difference at all.
Jeremy Gray, a debutant this year. He's another driver fighting for that Rookie of the Year crown, taking over the car that previously was driven by George Maniki, who's off in the United States now, as Baxter makes a lunge on Ben Dunn, and will get it done.
And if that Rockstar Falcon gets past him, you can say he'll be feeling grey. See, it's as bad as yours, Noonan, but let's turn to the action now. Jeremy Gray is putting the pressure on Ben Dunn. The Storage King Falcon has been a little bit loose through turn 4.
Locks up the left front. But here's Kim Jane pressuring the second place car, Jack Elsgood. I'm still getting used to Jack in white. I'm so used to seeing him in Cooper's green for so many years.
Hey, at Winton, I saw him, he's prancing around in his new race suit. He'd had the Cooper's pale ale green suit for about 6 years, and finally he's fronted with a new suit. Quite pretty, Jack. I'm just grateful that it's not clear. The suit, that is.
And you are hitting me for humour.
Anyway, Kim Jane, what a cracking job all weekend. He's been fighting for some form in the previous rounds. Pretty ordinary result, I guess, in race 1, but he has fought back now to be challenging Jack Elsgood for the second spot.
Not challenging, taking, going for it at turn 1. This was the place where he launched the move in race 2 to get the lead and the win on the last lap. He won't quite get it done this time around. Just behind is the Ice Coffee Break Commodore of Chris Pither.
What we saw there was a classic example of the Holden has got the performance advantage in a straight line, but the Fords traditionally have been just that little bit stronger under brakes, and proven again there. Kim Jane thought he was half a chance. He's locked up the brakes. Jack Elsgood, clear as anything, clips up the apex and gets a good drive off the corner.
But the guy who must be absolutely grinning as he comes out of the hairpin and sees these guys on the opposite side of the road is Grant Johnson. He's got them absolutely covered.
For a final lap of a V8 Ute race, only 12 laps to extend that lead. That is a dominant performance.
There's Pither in 4th, Andrew Fisher continuing that consistent fight for the championship.
And look at that, don't you love it? The final lap of a Ute race, the battles continue right back to about 11th or 12th spot.
Ben Dunn into the back of Gary Baxter, Gray's behind, then Ben Cabbage in the workhorse Falcon. And that's a good recovery because they had a right front brake caliper failure in race 1. No failure from this man. It is all about success. Grant Johnson takes race 3 and does it in style. Elsgood will hang on for second. And Kim Jane, great weekend for third.
It was a great weekend for Kim. I just can't help but think if he didn't lock up that break at turn 4, he may have been a chance with Jack, but it wasn't to be.
It's all about the red boxes. The Commodores dominate in Darwin. Jennings and Kovacs in the top 10. The blue boxes, though, were just outside the top 10. Charlie O'Brien, Giannis Derhams and Gary Carson rounded out the top 20. Steve Hodges had an up-and-down weekend, and Nandy Kiss will not greet the finish.
Grant, there's something about the top end that obviously agrees with you. That's your second round win in a row, and it eases the pressure a bit in the championship as well.
Yeah, well, we didn't start the championship really good with DNF at Clipsal, but we've had a really good fast car since the start, so it's good to actually come away with some points and really keep the pressure on the rest of the guys.
2 race wins for the West Aussie gives him the round. Kim Jane and Jack Elsgood round out the podium. Charlie Kovacs, Paul Williams and Ben Dunn round out the top 10 for the weekend. But in the championship, Johnson extends the lead. Elsgood leapfrogs Fisher for second. David Cedars slipping back to 5th as Kim Jane starts to make his move towards the front. Gary Baxter picks up the SS Inductions Hard Charger Award for going from the rear of the grid and passing 17 utes in race 2. Scott Jennings picks up the Champion Sparkplugs Whole Shot Award for the best start of the weekend, $500.